So this is what basically we consider initially during the designing of our LT system, which is a scope here. The system voltage is 415 volt, plus minus 10% as per IS. Generally, we consider a four pole system, that is three phasor neutral with neutral solidly grounded. Earthing system is T and S. This is that I will explain in my next program what is this T and S. But generally, it's a double earthing system. In a normal earth, it is done with the main earthing system with GI strip, flat and all. And in case it is a clean system for low voltage like BMS, SCADA, fire alarm and other control system, this is a we generally say it's a clean earth system, and that is done by copper because of sensitivity and more conductivity in case of earthing. Ambient temperature, because India is a very high temperature zone, so it is considered as 50 degrees centigrade. Insulation class 1.1 kV. Generally, it is followed. In some cases, it is 750 volt also. In some cases, it is 3.3 kV also. Degree of protection, generally it is IP54. But in case if we go for outside installation, it is IP65 or IP67. Busbar material, in case of panel, it can be copper as well as aluminum also. In case where we use mainly TTA assembled panels like type tested panels, their busbar is always copper. So I have mentioned here copper. Relative humidity 55 to 60%. Next is short circuit withstand. This is what is generally followed for system fault level identification. Mostly in present scenario, we consider 50 K and 65 K RMS. This is root mean square. K is kilo ampere. It means that if that any fault develops inside the system for 1 second, it can withstand 50 kilo ampere of short circuit. What does it mean actually? And number one. Number two, 1 second for electrical system is very, very high. Generally, in electrical system, milliseconds are considered because within the wink of eyes, anything can happen. So this 50 K and 65 K system resistance for 1 second for short circuit is very huge. What is the definition of it? Basically, this, if we inject 50 kilo ampere in any of our system, starting from busbar to switchgear to any low side also, it will not develop any, it will not rupture. The system will not break down till 1 second. Before that, the protective system will operate. Next is standard follows. The standard is generally followed is IEC, BS, EN, NFP, and IS. In case we are talking about metro system or defense, DRDO, ISRO type of jobs, generally there we follow IEC and BS. In case of buildings, hospitals and other things, generally we follow IS. Protection is, it's a basically integral part of circuit breakers, ACBs and other MCCBs, MCBs and all are covered. This is the voltage category. Under voltage, generally we consider 15% minus side and over voltage 10%. And over current is IDMT, inverse definite mean time characteristic, long time and short time. This I will clarify in my next slide. Nowadays, generally In earlier, we used to follow what is called coordination chart, mostly known as relay coordination chart. But nowadays, this relay coordination is invalid. Generally, nobody uses it. It has been replaced by discrimination. I will explain that discrimination in my next slides. And another one protection is also there, that is instantaneous overcurrent with and without time delay. It depends what type of protection we are looking for. In some applications where no time delay is allowed, for example, if you are working in hospital sector, there are some equipments where we cannot allow any type of fault time. And if it is done, then it can create a havoc. In that case, there no time delay is allowed. And so there we follow instantaneous tripping device. Next is fault, about ground fault and earth fault. Now, what is the difference between ground fault and earth fault? Now, earth fault is a fault which happens in case sometimes we see that motor is burnt out. Now, when we do the measure, we see that phase and earth is short. That means that insulation, the stator core is ruptured out and the insulation had touched the body of the stator core. So this is called as earth fault. This earth fault, sometimes it is also found that in any panel, inside the panel, some foreign element has gone in. Like it can be spider, it can be lizard or something. And we'll find that there will be a lot of flash and there is some smoke. There also that particular phase had touched the earth. So that is called earth fault. Ground fault is not generally happen in electrical system. It happens in mostly in the ELV side. That is electrical low voltage. Next is metering. Metering is required, as we know, what in which condition the particular system is operating. We need to know whether the voltage is proper, whether voltage is not proper. If I drive a motor, what ammeter it is drawing, we need to record it so that in future, if any analysis is required, we can take this and we can get a history of how this particular drive has operated so far. Next is multifunction meter with RS485 port. Nowadays, this individual, especially in incoming side, individual voltmeter, ammeter is no longer in use. We use a multifunction meter which gives voltage, current, frequency, counters, what is the power factor. All the data are available in one single meter. So in incomer, it is preferred to have a multifunction meter. This RS485 port is basically for communication with BMS. It's a two-port communication. All the data which is available in the multifunction meter, that can be brought to the BMS master controller and it can be seen sitting in the control room. Next is energy meter with RS485 port. These major important panels are provided with RS485 port so that this energy data analysis can be done. And this energy meter is also inbuilt in multifunction meter. Next is standard and reference codes. This is important because which type of equipment we are going to use or we are going to install or it is required for a particular purpose, that is decided by which standard we are following. Here I have written some this IC 60439 999 low voltage switchgear and control gear assemblies. This is basically type tested and partially type tested assemblies. This is applicable for LT panels. Now 60439 has been replaced by 61439. What does it mean actually? It means that a particular panel or a section is type tested. What is type testing? If I take an example of 5000 ampere breaker. Now for 5000 ampere breaker, we need certain sizes of bus bar arrangement and an enclosure where this particular switch gear and particular bus bar is assembled, along with earth protection and neutral. This particular assembly with that section, with that switch gear and this bus bar arrangement is tested what is mentioned in IC 61439 part 1 and part 2. There are some 34 tests which are conducted on this particular assembly of the panel, and if it is passed, then this particular section is applicable for designing of further panel. That means if I, for example, if I choose a dimension of say 2 meter by 1 meter by 500 structure and 5000 ampere switch gear and bus bar of, for example, 100 square mm by 50 square mm, then whenever I will prepare a section of this 5000 ampere, you have to follow this assembly. This is called type tested panels. What are the subsystems? The subsystems are bus duct, bus trunking, which is connected between transformer secondary and main LT panel. Somewhere, if the capacity is low, I mean the ampere is low, then bus ducts are not required. Cables can be used, but the problem is when we are using cables, the termination is a problem, and if we add number of cables, then when the termination happens, say there are 3 runs or 4 runs, there is a possibility that during usage, say after 1 year, the contact gets heated because there is a possibility of loose connection, and after some time there is a possibility that some of the lugs are burnt out and it disrupts the supply. That is one of the main reasons the bus ducts are used. Then low voltage panels like air conditioning panels, lighting panels, switch socket panels, UPS panels, those are basically low voltage panels. And capacitor banks. Capacitor banks, we know that it is used for power factor improvement, and but presently what we are observing that the grid power which comes from different electricity boards, the quality of power is very good, and in recent past, especially in metro or any infrastructure type of applications, the automatic power factor panels are getting discontinued because the basic power factor which is coming, it is close to unity. I mean, even if it is lag is around 0.98, 0.97 like that. Next is UPS, uninterrupted power supply. Then lighting system, illumination, small power distribution, mainly switch socket, earthing, bonding, and lightning protection system. This is basically for protection of all the electrical equipments, diesel generator sets, and cable between feeders from panels and equipments to device. This is a small pictorial presentation of low voltage panel and capacitor banks. What you see here, this one is basically the bus duct, and this is the transformer. This is a sandwich type bus duct, and this particular bus duct, it is connecting this transformer secondary to the electric panel. This is the bus duct going, and this is the electric panel. It is getting connected. So this is main LT switchboards. This is sized as per maximum demand loads and fault current of 50 ka or 65 ka is kiloampere. The individual circuit breakers are selected based on type of load, maximum demand load, and to provide necessary discrimination, which I was talking about. So I will go to the next one. And this now in a panel, what are the other things which are required? This is, as we see, necessary facilities such as NONC contacts are required in breakers. What is NONC? Starters are provided. What is NONC contact? This is basically when we are using auxiliary protections and for visual display and indication in the panel, these NONC contacts are required. Like breaker healthy, that means breaker is having no problem. Breaker on, breaker is ready to start. Breaker trip. So these type of for getting these type of indications, these NONC contacts are required. And these breakers are also interlocked with other breakers that I will come in the SLD part. The rating of male LT panels used at different stations are as under. This is basically what we, from this particular main panel, it goes to essential power panel, lighting panel, escalator panel, HVAC panels, then tunnel ventilation panels, like that. Now, what are the components of a main panel or sub panels? Air circuit breakers. This is air circuit breaker is what microprocessor based. Almost I would say 95 to 97% we are using microprocessor based air circuit breakers. It is very easy to program. It's not really in earlier days where you used to push the manual set and all these things. It is not required nowadays. It is programmable, electrically operated with motorized torque. Now in air circuit breaker, there are two types. This is very important to note. Draw out type means in a panel, when the circuit breaker is installed, you can take out that circuit breaker without dislodging the other portion of the panels. Only the circuit breakers can be taken out from that particular component. Now there are two types of draw out mechanism is available. One is electrical draw out, one is mechanical or manual draw out type. The difference is in a manual draw out type, you need a handle to rack out the breaker from the existing compartment. In case of electrical draw out, we don't need any handle or any other mechanism to take out the breaker from the particular compartment. So this is important while ordering or while doing the service. We need to know whether it is an electrical draw out type breaker or it's a manual rack out type breaker. And as I see that having integral and adjustable protective devices like overload short circuit, arc fault, etc., with time delay setting feature. This time delay feature I will explain when I go to the discrimination. CSG breakers meant for large amount of power protection also can be operated from remote. A separate power supply of 110 volt DC used to open or trip them. This is actually both options are available. This is also important to understand here. In a circuit, what is the difference here? We need to understand between a starter and a breaker. In case we are talking about a starter, the starter, when we switch on, the contactor gets locked and it keeps on giving power to the motor even we release the start button. This is because through a latching mechanism, momentary latching mechanism, we are converting to a permanent latching mechanism. In case this Now, when we push the stop button, that latching mechanism is discontinued. It becomes non-latching and motor stops. But in case of circuit breaker, it is not like that. There are two different coils. One is closing coil, one is stripping coil. As I have mentioned here, a large amount of power protection and also can be operated from remote. A separate power supply of 110 volt DC is used to open oblique trip them. It means when we are designing a circuit breaker supply, when we need power, we close the circuit breaker. But if we remove that power, I mean that momentary pulse from there, it will not close unless we give a pulse to that tripping coil. So it is important while designing this particular circuit breaker functionality, DC supply is also required to trip. Otherwise, in case we need to switch it off or trip, in case tripping is required due to some fault, it will not trip, unlike a starter. And as we know that these breakers also have a communication protocol, and nowadays this Modbus protocol or whatever internet protocol, this as per convenience it can be made. And all circuit breaker feeders are provided with a selector switch for local and remote. That means in case you want a BMS operation or SCADA operation, you program it to remote. In case you want a local operation, you program it to local. Next is MCCBs, that is molded crest circuit breakers. Presently, this is, I have mentioned thermomagnetic and microprocessor based, but nowadays thermomagnetic cases are getting discontinued because microprocessor based are taking their place. It is quite natural because in case there are features available, microprocessor based MCCB are having much more facilities compared to thermomagnetic releases. And another one thing is also important here. Nowadays, the motorized MCCBs are also available. So what happens here that earlier the problem was when we are using MCCBs, then due to some reason, if it trips, then we need to go physically reset and switch it on. But nowadays, as it is motorized, even it can be remotely made on. We don't need to go there and switch it. Nowadays, there is a tendency of unmanned substations, unmanned panel rooms, because day by day the automation is going up. So these motorized microprocessors are getting replaced by manual or thermomagnetic release circuit breakers. Miniature circuit breakers, this is basically single phase. Mostly, sometimes it is used in three phase also. And as you see here, that conventional type with 10 kiloampere breaking capacity are used. The basic problem is in case we are using a three phase system, this when it is 50K or 60K fault level, there 10K breaking capacity is very difficult to accommodate because it will hamper the entire panel performance in case there is a fault level which is in and around 50K or 40 to 50K, like that. Now here I have made a little bit of operational sequence, how the circuit breakers are operating. This particular breaker is in open and discharge condition, and this photograph is closed and discharged. So these are the two difference. Here you see that this is discontinued, here it is continued. So that is on. And this is what I said, that circuit breaker open charged and not ready to close. This is this also gives a signal to the BMS operator that that particular circuit breaker is ready to close. So you can give a command to close the breaker. This is what, again, I will repeat, that this closing coil, you can instruct, means you can send the pulse to close the coil. And this is how a circuit breaker looks like. This is a rack out handle. This is what I was explaining. One important thing why I have kept it, as you see here, this circuit breaker, why it is important. We are racking this out from the breaker. Now there are rather three type of racking is possible. One is, it's a complete racking out, where, for example, any contact is not functioning. You want to thoroughly investigate the circuit breaker. Then the entire circuit breaker is completely dislodged from the compartment. Each and every component is checked, rectified, and put it back for operation. This only is possible when it is in test condition. When the circuit breaker commands, I mean the buttons, we can program it to test, then only you can completely dislodge the circuit breaker from the compartment and do all the tests. Even you can take it to the factory also, repair and put back into operation after it is rectified. Another one is possible, that is semi-service mode, where you can take out the breaker, the control supply of the circuit breaker remains on. You can check the power portion, maybe some mechanical damage, the contact is not picking up in spite of switching. Those things can be checked in this mode, and it can be put back to the compartment for operation. This, and the third one is a service mode, where the breaker is in service and is it in operation. And this is what I said, that this is locally mechanically press the mechanical on push button when you are checking the contacts and other things. And these are the receptacles what you see, that is for remote mode operation. This is the most important part of this electrical subject, which we see generally. This is a partial SLD, or you can say a single line diagram of a system. As I see here, you can see it from here. This is one circuit. This is I have written incomer 1. And this supply, which is coming, it is coming from a transformer. The similar replica is also available. Because of space constraint, I have shown only one here. The similar, another transformer is also on the right side, and in between, here you see between 3 and 16, this is called B/C. This is a bus coupler. It means what? It means in a panel, there are two sections. It can be multiple also. For ease of understanding, I am just confining myself to only two sections. This is coming from transformer 1. Another one is coming from transformer 2. Between these two, there is a bus coupler. That means in a panel, we have two dedicated incomers. Provision for two dedicated incomers. One is coming from transformer, another one coming from a second transformer. And below this incomer portions, you will see different feeders. This is called outgoing feeders. And incomer is this. Now, from this incomer, there are bus bars which are going to different outgoing feeders. And if we remember the panel first, which we saw the picture and all of us know also, this bus bar is connected to the different outgoing feeders depending on the panel configuration. It can be horizontal bus bars. From there, we take the vertical bus bars and do the outgoing feeder. And from the bus bar, the MCCBs or MCBs are connected, and output is again put to the cable alley from where the outgoing cables are going to the respective feeders. Now coming back to this SLD, what we need to understand here, when these two supplies are coming here, it may happen during normal operation, both the incomers are healthy. That means both the transformers are in good shape. There is no fault. Nothing is disturbing them. So we are getting supply from both the transformers and both my incomers are healthy. Now there is a situation when due to some reason, one incomer is not available. It is having a fault. And it is not possible to repair it immediately. So we cannot afford that. In the sense, if one incomer is not operational, then this portion of my panel is not getting power. So what will happen? All the supplies which are made available through this incomer are now discontinued. So whatever supplies this particular section was giving, that is not available. But it cannot happen. We cannot allow this to happen because there are a lot of important supplies which are going through this incomer. So what is the operational activity done here? Here comes this bus coupler. What is a bus coupler? This is also this like this incomer. What we written here, incomer 1. This with the same, this is also a 4000 ampere 4-pole electrical diode ACB with 50 Ka fault level. Same breaker is also provided here. What happens in case this transformer is not available? Then this bus coupler, when both the transformers are available, this bus coupler is off because there is no problem, both are healthy. Now once this is off, then this bus coupler closes and it gives supply to this part of the panel. So in that case, this particular section of the panel is also available for operation. Now what is the catch here? The catch is when we are doing a load distribution or a load calculation, how do we do it? Because it is quite natural that in spite of our best efforts, these two transformers may not be available every time, all time, 24/7, 365 days. There may be different problems. Even we know sometimes we read in newspapers there's a grid fail in the national stage. So we have to have for an alternate option. The option is when we design the electrical system, we have to take care of what is the minimum load, which in case my one transformer is not available or one incomer is not available, through this bus coupler, when the other side of the panel is fed, the essential supplies, for example, what are the essential supplies? Number one, the lighting system, because that is required. Otherwise, the building cannot be dark. Next comes fire pump. In case of any emergency, the fire pump has to operate. Next is UPS supply. UPS, without UPS, if anything happens, then the computers will not operate. Water supply panels, because without water, the building cannot operate. So this is the prudence of an a design engineer or an electrical engineer who decides that in case one supply is not available and through bus coupler, the entire panel is energized, the load which will appear in one particular situation is capable to feed the emergency supplies. In a metro type of design, this is not so important because there one section can take the load of entire section. That means the incomer is designed, both the incomers are designed in such a way that in case one incomer fails and it is fed through a bus coupler, the other incomer can take care of the entire station load and the track which is connecting two stations. But I will say in other case, where we are designing a building, well, of course, cost is a matter and all. In that case, it may not be prudent also to do a design with so much of diversity. In that case, these things have to be kept in mind, that in case one incomer fails or one transformer fails, then through the bus coupler, the system has to be designed in such a way the emergency supplies are maintained. Next point here is there is a small interlock in the left corner. I think you can see that interlocking logic of circuit operation. This is what I was saying, that these are the incomer numbers basically. So when both the incomers are normal, this bus coupler is off. When this transformer is off, this is on, incomer 2 is on, so it is giving supply to both the sections of the panel. In case incomer 2 is off, incomer 1 is healthy, both through this bus coupler, both the sections are available. In case both the incomers are off, that we say it's a grid fail, that time DG will come into the operation. Another important thing, I think if you can see, it is little hazy. Here I have little one thing, that TCL. This is called total connected load. I have written some figure 3407 kilowatt. In the bottom, I have written MDL, that is called maximum demand load, 2723 kilowatt. Now it's a difference. There is a difference between TCL and MDL. TCL is total connected load, as I said, and MDL is maximum demand load. Now, what is TCL? It is very simple. TCL is what is the nameplate load. That means if we are using some 100 feeders or 100 equipments, simply add on. If my motor nameplate rating is 20 kilowatt, I will write 20 kilowatt. If my UPS rating is 20 kVA, I will write 20 kVA. If my computer is saying it is 20 watt, I will write 20 watt. So as you see here, as all these loads 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, if I add, then I get a total load. This is, I say, total connected load. This is 34707 kilowatt. But in reality, it is not the case. Why it is not the case? Because at every point of time, every equipment will not operate at its full load condition. Number one. Number two is, at every point of time, all the equipments will not operate. Let us understand the basic thing. In case there is a fire, what will happen? My fire pump will operate immediately. At the same time, my chiller is off, as well as my HU is off. So what happens here? If I take my fire pump load of 100 HP, at very point of time, my chiller load is, I'm just assuming it is say 200 HP, and HU all put together, my load is say 50 HP. So my 250 HP is cut. So my effective load at that point of time is around 100 kilowatt instead of 250 plus 100. Similarly, during night time, out of 3 chillers, my 1 chiller will operate balanced, provided it's a 24/7 building. My other 2 chillers will not operate. If my other 2 chillers are not operating, that time my ancillary is also not working. Chiller or pumps are not operating, cooling tower is not operating. So that comes here when we consider the diversity. This total connected load multiplied by diversity is the maximum demand load. Now, it is again a prudence or experience of the designer or the building profile. That is also important. If you are going to design an airport, then you have to have the load profile of that particular airport. I mean, when it's peak, generally during day and evening time, the domestic passengers are more, but in case during night, the international passengers are more. So based on the prudence, these particular total connected load and maximum demand load has to be decided. Why it is so important to understand? Because based on these, ultimately the entire switchgear selection as well as the metering capacity and the money involved. I mean, if I say my total load is 2000 kilowatt, my maximum demand, then I have to submit, say, for example, I have to give a tariff rate of 50 lakhs. But if I say it is 3000 kilowatt, then that cost also goes up exponentially. Another important thing is, in spite of that, because the minimum demand load, as per my declaration, is payable to the authority, and we are not using, we are far below, then there is no point in spending that much of money without using it. And at the same time, it is also important that if you cross that maximum demand load at any point of time, then you have to give penalty also for that. So let us not elaborate too much of it. What I mean to say that these 3 parameters are very important while designing the system and switchgear of any building, any hospital, any metro station, any airport. So these are the major things which you have to keep it in mind. Another small thing I will here touch upon, that is, here I have written a 4000 ampere circuit breaker. Here always you keep it in mind that while selecting the circuit breaker, this 4000 ampere breaker means it's a frame size of the breaker, and it's short circuit or current. Here it is 4000, but using the same frame size, you can go to a lower one also. What is this? With a 4000 ampere frame size ACB, you can have a release of short circuit release an ampere of 3200 ampere. What will happen here? In that case, the maximum operation of current will limit to 3200 ampere, not more than that. The difference is, it happens with lot of buildings where I am a builder. I have planned a 10-story building, but presently I am not going to construct this 10-story building. I am going to construct, say, up to 4-story building. In that case, what I will do, I will make a provision of this, but I will not spend the entire capital cost for this. So presently I will go for a 4000 ampere frame side circuit breaker with a 3200 ampere release. And release means basically the internal devices will be of 3200 ampere. Now in future, what happens? My building is fully operational now. I need that much of current to handle. Then you take out that, keep it as a spare, that 3200 ampere, and feed your 4000 ampere short circuit it is an ampere. This is also possible. So these things are essentially required while design the electrical system for any type of services. So this is basically what we discussed just now. I will just have, this is what we are just discussing. As you see here, this is a type tested panel, right? And these are the incomers. And this is the bus coupler. And so what I was saying is top portion, what you see, this is a bus bar arrangement. And here, as I understand, that vertical bus bars have come from the back side of the panel, not from this one, not from this small portion which I see. This is here, the cable alley has come from this. So it depends on what configuration, what application we are using, what is the, there is a space constraint also. That also has to keep in mind. So based on that, practically the panels are selected. And one thing, I'll just go back to the previous slide. Here, one thing I forgot to mention. As you see here, that 2, 3 mechanical and electrical interlock. This is when 2 incomers are available. That time, by mistake, I am a unknown person. I have just come inside the substation. Then somehow these lights are not working in incomer 1. Then suddenly I feel, hey, what happened? The incomer 1 is not operational. The immediately power is required. So I go there and I switch on the bus coupler. Because I thought the incomer 1 is off. So what will happen? Your system is healthy and you are making the bus coupler operational. So there will be huge short circuit because of both the system is available and sudden inrush of current, because both the incomers are on load. So you're operating 2 sections merging on load. To protect it, these 2 particular sections are covered with mechanical and electrical interlock. What is mechanical and electrical interlock? Electrical interlock is basically, it is done through a simple device called under voltage. That means if this particular breaker is not, cannot have voltage, this cannot be made operational or it cannot be made on. This is what basically, as soon as we, under voltage is a protective device. Similarly, over voltage is also a protective device. Under voltage is, it's a small relay. As soon as that 415 volt is removed from that particular circuit, that relay operates and breaker trips. Unless again the voltage is applied, this particular relay cannot be made operational. Number 1. Number 2, under voltage cannot be manually reset. What is meant by manually reset? In case we have seen overload relays, basically bimetallic, generally used in motor feeders. What happens there? If the motor trips, it takes little time to get settled. I mean, the bimetal goes back to its normal position. If I am in a hurry, then what I do, I will manually reset it. And sometimes this happens also, and it gets resetted and the motor is operational. But in case of under voltage, unless voltage is kept there, it cannot be manually reset. So if voltage is not available in bus coupler or any of this interlocking, I mean, any of the incomer, under voltage cannot be switched on till such time the voltage is restored. So this is the electrical interlock. And mechanical interlock, there is called a castle key. The castle key is what? It's a key which is provided in the particular compartment. You can lock the key. This is also again a it operates a contact only, but with that key. But nowadays I will not discuss, because nowadays this mechanical interlock is getting discontinued, because in case you mechanically lock it, then the automatic operation is not possible, because unless it is mechanical interlock, I mean manual interlock. So you cannot, in case incomer 1 is manual interlock, then I cannot make it on remotely. So these are the different panels. This is a small ventilation panels and air conditioning panels. Generally, in air conditioning, we use air handling units panel, local air handling unit panels, fresh air fan panels, ventilation supply and exhaust air fan panels, smoke extraction fan panels, SPF staircase pressurization fans panel, dampers and fat dampers. Actually, in normal building and other operations, these damper panels are not required. But in case there are bigger operation and you have pneumatic, as I discussed in the first one, as we have pneumatic fire dampers and motorized fire dampers, then these type of damper panels are required. Now some set points I will discuss here. This under voltage relay, generally we set at 85%, and timer is kept at 30 seconds. Over voltage relay, this 110% timer, it is also set at 30 seconds. Air circuit breaker, thermal, as per discrimination study, as I said, I will go to there. Short circuit is also as per the discrimination study. Earth fault, bimetallic over relay, 100% of full load current of motor. Start delta timer based on the synchronous speed. When it during the star mode of operation, we need to allow the motor to reach to the synchronous speed. Then it should get converted from star to delta. Space heater thermostat, this is required for this during non-operation. There is a possibility that some of the feeders are not getting operated due to some reason. To avoid moisture content, there is a heater, space heater, and there is a thermostat provided. Otherwise, it will heat without stopping. So thermostat is provided to cut that heater. So here I come to that discrimination, what I was talking about. What this discrimination means? Discrimination means that, as I was discussing earlier, that if we remember that single line diagram, there are incomers, there are outgoing feeders. Now, when we are using incomer and outgoing feeders with different ratings, for example, if my incomer is 4000 ampere, then my outgoing, for example, will be 3200 ampere. This particular outgoing feeder is again giving feed to another panel. That incomer ideally should be once rating lower than this 2500 ampere. While Now, ideally, what should happen? In case there is any fault in that 2500 ampere breaker, that 2500 ampere breaker should first operate. Operate means that should first be tripped without disturbing my 3200 ampere breaker or my 4000 ampere breaker. But in reality, it may not happen. Number one. Number two, when we keep on going to the downstream, quite often it happens that two breaker sizes are same. Like my outgoing feeder is 100 ampere and the feed which is giving to the downstream panel, the incomer is also 100 ampere. There is a reason behind it also. Reason in the sense, this is while doing the design, that particular designer by mistake has skipped this, and instead of giving a MCCB or MCB at that low level, the designer should have provided a simple isolator which will isolate these two particular feeders. But he has provided MCCB or MCB in both the cases. So it will disturb in the sense, now this, in case there is a fault developed in the lower 100 ampere feeder, it may trip, it may not trip. Before that, the upstream breaker will trip. And the same thing can happen with the other upstream cases also. So this is also again a simple diagram which I earlier I was showing in a single line diagram. This is one incomer. This is a second incomer. There's a second. There's a third bus coupler. There's a bus coupler, and as you see, there are the incomer one is having 1600 kVA, or I can say ampere 2253, and this is same 2253 ampere. The short circuit is 36 ka, and for both the cases, I mean, those are two identical breakers, or I will say these two identical transformers is getting feed from here, and these are the outgoings. In outgoing also, here we are showing a bus coupler. It is just for single line purpose. Actually, the top two is a HT line and bottom one is a LV switchboard. Another one small thing I will mention here, while calculating or knowing this fault level of the system, always you have to take the fault level of the transformer also, because generally it doesn't happen. But if due to some reason the transformer impedance or transformer fault level is less compared to my system or our system fault level, then it can create a havoc, and possibly in future you need to replace. So this is why we are showing all this, because here there are two incomer, HT incomer, two LT incomers, and different outgoing feeders. I will go straight to the study. So this is how the discrimination looks like. There are three types of discrimination here. I would say that one is current discrimination, one is time discrimination, and third one is power discrimination. Now, why all this story has come? Because generally, while designing a system, we do BOQ design. In the sense, I have been given a BOQ where it is written, it is 4000 ampere breaker, this is 3200 ampere with 3200 ampere release and all. So we don't bother that what is discrimination and all. And when the system is commissioned, we are going to hand over. Customer is complaining, "Arey, yesterday night, what happened when my fire pump was operational? Sorry, water supply pump was operational. Suddenly, this one feed has gone from emergency supply, that panel is tripped. How it has happened? Then I thought, okay, so it should not happen. Then what to do? Then I find that the breaker selection is wrong. It will trip. So for ease of convenience, we have given these three options. One is current, one is time, and one is power or watt. Now, what is current and time discrimination? That means if my breaker is 4000 ampere and my downstream breaker is 3200 ampere, there is a discrimination in the sense 4200 and 3200. My 4200 ampere current, which I'm talking, the maximum load current I have restricted to, for example, is 4000. So because I don't want my breaker gets heated, so I have kept as such the setting little low, and in 3200 I have kept it at 3000. Now what happens here? In case there is a certain fault current which is more than 3000, then there are 2-3 types of faults like short circuit, which I discussed. In case short circuit, I will not allow any time delay because it is dangerous for my system. Immediately I will trip that, and there the time setting, I will do in milliseconds in case of short circuit. In case of overcurrent, I can wait a little bit because there is a possibility suddenly the load profile has changed, the building, lot of occupants have come, there is some party happening in some of the floors, so the occupants have gone up, my chiller load has gone up, so this overcurrent is little bit allowed. So there I can, if I set the short circuit time at 1 millisecond, the overcurrent I can do it in 50 milliseconds, and my current setting is 3000. And my upstream, what will happen if my time setting in 3200 of the downstream breaker is 50 milliseconds, then my upstream 4200 breaker has to have a time setting of 60 milliseconds, more than operational time of the downstream breaker. With this philosophy, sometimes what I said, it happens that my breaker 400 ampere is feeding to another 400 ampere. So what I do? I don't have any option. I have to do my short circuit setting also higher. In the higher case of in the same breaker, in the lower one, it is 400 ampere, but the short circuit is 1 millisecond. In the upstream, it has to be 2 milliseconds, although it is not called for. So after doing all this, and this is done by a manufacturer, it cannot be done by us or who is outside the system. This is done by the switchgear manufacturer. The important thing which I am trying to show here, if you see the curve, you see the curve is nowhere intercepting each other. This is the main crux of discrimination study. As you see here, the curves are running parallel. It is not cutting at any stage in Y and X axis. The Y axis is time delay and X axis is the current. If at any point of time or at any section, these two curves, actually this is a small system, that's why you are seeing only 6 curves. If it is a complete system, then it will have multiple curves with different colors. If it cuts at any stage, the entire discrimination study is wrong, in the sense the system is not discriminated at any point of time. Anything can happen. You can get a phone call, look, this panel has not tripped, the upstream main breaker has tripped. Sometimes it may happen the low side has not tripped at all, the transformer has tripped. So it is not a very complicated thing. Probably the way I'm trying to explain seems complicated, but this is available with all the manufacturers. While doing the design, you will invariably ask for the switchgear manufacturer that we need to see, we need to understand. In the first step, you will see there are a lot of curves which are cutting each other, intercepting with each other, and we'll find that ultimately when the system will be applied, there there will be a lot of problems while doing the setting of the breakers. This is another small one, this automatic power factor correction panels. This is generally nowadays it's losing its importance because the basic power supply is very good, the grid supply is very good. The only issue with us is we use generally we use huge inductive load for our chillers. Sometimes we use some 500 550 kilowatt uh, motors. That is a reason we generally opt for this automatic power factor correction banks. But here, the most importantly, generally no study is made on this, in the sense, suppose we are getting the grid supply, we are getting an income supply of 0.95 to 0.99 power factor. In fact, in some of my experience presently in Calcutta, we are getting unity power factor. Even some cases it is grid power factor, which is very surprising. But yes, we are getting it. There is no I'm coming back to that. There is no such study that it says, okay, if you're using a 250 kilowatt or 510 kilowatt motor, what will be your inductive load generator in the system, which will nullify the unity power factor to say 0.8 or 0.75. It's a general tendency that we follow a 8-step relay and point. Suppose the power factor goes down. For example, if you are getting a unit a 0.98 power factor, if it goes down to say 0.8, 0.82, then one bank will start operation through a relay logic based on the power factor reading. When it goes, then if it improves, it's fine. If it doesn't, then the second bank starts. This is how it operates. Of course, when we do the capacitor bank operation, this ACB will be in service position. It has to be, otherwise the operation will not happen. And this local remote has to be in remote, because in remote mode only the capacitor bank automatic operation can happen. This is the safety of low voltage panels. Generally, the settings which we already discussed, that ACB and MCCB settings, based on the discrimination study, current and time settings are there, through which the power also comes in. And another, some more interlocks are also provided, which is besides the door interlocks is simple. If I open the door through that limit switch, this you can start the motor like that. Padlocking facility is also provided. In case MCCB and ACB, if you take out, I mean, if we do the if we want to rack in, then we have to go to the ACB, program it, and then only we can rack it out. Number two is where, as I explained, wherever two incomers and one bus coupler or ACB scheme is provided, they are interlocked both electrically and mechanically. That already we have discussed. Another one is not in this purview. This will come under fire protection. This is a passive fire protection, not an active fire protection. That electrical panels are provided with CO2 flooding element. That this is basically, nowadays it's very popular, that there is a CO2 cylinders available, and there are sensing and non-sensing tubes, polymer tubes, which are available. So what we do, we keep the cylinder, there is a weighing machine. For example, my before discharge, my cylinder is weighing say 50 kilo. Now I do the tubing, non-linear tube, which is going up to the panel, Inside the panel, it's a polymer tube which is rupturable. It is moving inside the panel, and in case there is any spark inside any of the feeder, this particular sensing tube ruptures, and with the pressurization CO2, it covers the entire feeder, and the arc of the spark is quenched. And there is a, with this, there is a fire elemental lock. The buzzer starts operating, and the person who is sitting in the control room, he gets alert that this particular feed in the particular panel, there is a fire and CO2 system has operated. Space heater in cable tray, cable alley, as I explained, that in case of moisture, this space heater is provided so that there is, we know that in case there is a moisture, the insulation resistance goes down, and it's very critical for electrical operation. Provision of rubber mat on front and rear side of all panels. In case when a person is working on the panel, he needs an insulation. So that's why rubber mats are provided in front of the panels, and in the back side, if there is a live part, then in the rear side also it is required. Protection against overload, short circuit, and earth fault for all ACB and MCCB feeders, common ELCB and RCB earth fault. This ELCB and RCB earth fault protections for MCB distribution boards. Generally, it is a single phase protection, and it is provided in lighting and power circuit, because nowadays again this is not so much required, because earlier what happens, we used to have tube lights or any sort of lights, what we usually call choke. Nowadays it is getting replaced with LEDs, and in earlier days these chokes are very frequent failures, and not only frequent failures, suddenly we'll see that it gets burnt and there's a lot of smoke coming out of there, and invariably there's a short circuit. So LCB and RCB with earth fault protection was mandatory, but nowadays it doesn't happen with LED drivers. In fact, the drivers are not having all these what do you say, small transformer type of devices, which was detrimental earlier. So nowadays it is okay. We still provide this, but the use has gone down substantially because of LED drivers. These are some don'ts which generally we follow. And one important thing is that particularly this electrical device, always our target should be there to clean the system thoroughly, because this dust and moisture can create a havoc in any of the electrical systems. This is a simple pictorial, or you can say HMI presentation of how a screen looks like of the panel. And one important thing I have forgot to mention here, what we discussed, that this panel operation, this is all automatic in the sense, as you see, automatic in the sense, if incomer one fails, then this bus coupler gets on automatically. Even if we don't have BMS or SCADA in the system, this is achieved by a small PLC, which is kept in the panel. Honestly, I am not very sure about what is happening in the other installations, but in any metro system, this operation of automation, I mean, if incomer one fails, the bus coupler gets on, incomer two fail, bus coupler gets on, and this is achieved by a small PLC, and the operator doesn't need to go there and do this manually. I mean, if he sees that incomer 1 is not operational, okay, I go and switch on the bus coupler. It is no, it's a small PLC provided in the panel which performs this operation automatically. And there is another one thing also, which generally it comes, that is called automatic transfer switch, or you can say ATS, ATC, where there are two incomers. In case one incomer fails, the other it is the operation wise, it's more close to a bus coupler, but it is not exactly a bus coupler. It is a automatic transfer switch. The supply is available in both, in one section only. In case that section fails, then the automatic transfer switch switches this to the other. Normally it happens in case where we are using normal supply as well as DG supply, where in case normal supply fails, when DG is available, this automatic transfer switch switches it to this second supply, where DG supply or that. I think today I stop here.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a wonderful session we had with you. I personally have learned a lot. Myself being an electrical engineer also, I could learn a lot new things from this particular webinar. I hope I am audible. I request everyone to kindly keep yourself on mute. So, sir, there are a few questions in the chat box.
Yeah, right.
So let me once go through all the questions.
You can take the screen right now.
Sorry, sir.
1 second.
You can stop sharing them,
Yeah,
and then
yes.
So first, in the very beginning, there was a question by Mr. Abhishek. He says that starting from transformer. Hello.
Hello.
Manu,
Yes.
hello. Yes, of course, Manu sir. Please speak, sir.
Hello, Shubhro.
Yes.
Shubhro, Manojda.
Yeah.
I'm just telling before the question starts. I'm just telling you it's a wonderful session and it's very much learning for everybody. Thank you very much for such a lovely session. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manu sir, for those great words. And it was indeed a great session, actually. So Mr. Abhishek had this question where he asked, starting from the transformer to the switch, please provide the SLD showing how the power transmission and what are the equipments in each section.
See, I can.
So I think you had. I mean, after he asked the question, I think you had shown the SLD. So
yes.
Mr. Abhishek, if you are there, kindly confirm if you have got your answer. Or if there is any other question, please unmute yourself and ask. Mr. Abhishek, are you there? We don't think so. So next, we have a question from our Pratik Datta sir. Can you please mention some examples of 34 types of tests which are carried out as part of the IA standard on electrical panels? So, sir, you want to take the question?
I can take the questions, but offhand I don't have this. I will offline. I will share this.
Yes.
That is not a problem.
Yes. I can understand, sir, because there are 34 types of tests, so it's very difficult to remember. Next question is how to address arc flash rating of panel. Is the question clear to you, sir?
No, I could not.
Yeah. So, Mr. Kazi, if you are there, kindly unmute yourself and clarify the question.
Yes. First, I thanks organizer for a great session and added a lot of value and related electrical related. And thanks for that. My question was there was arc flash related hazard. in the electrical installation. So how to address the arc flash related stuff during ordering of electrical panel?
No, actually, see
Hello?
this. What you are saying that arc flash, or what I should say, this is called arc shoot. But this arc shoot is, for example, a if I am using a say 3200 ampere circuit breaker, then this particular arc shoot is defined in the manufacturer's catalog. For defined in the sense, for every switching, what arc it will generate, that is available in with the manufacturer. Now, if this arc increases, then definitely there is a fault condition. Otherwise, number one. Number two, if this arc is generated in each switching, then the circuit breaker is designed to quench that. The device is protected for that. Now, if the arc generated is more than what is defined, then it's a fault situation. And in that
Yes,
case,
sir. Perfect.
and in that case, the manufacturer has to be contacted for this, that look, at this particular rating breaker, this arc which is happening, which is more than what you have specified.
Mr. Kazi, I hope you got your answer. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I got the answer answered partly. The arc flash related to breaker is okay. Sir is answered that question. But as a whole panel, we need to specify something, the type test related to arc flash or
Yes.
something that is.
Yes, yes. As I said that this actually I will share this to Ishre. What are this arc flash? What you are saying? It is covered in IEC 61439 part 1, not in part 2. I will share the test which is conducted in IEC 61439 to address this issue. I will do that.
Perfect. Thanks a lot.
Mr. Bose, hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is Akash telling from ISCL team. So actually, this was a wonderful session. So I had a question regarding some kind of circuit breaker. Actually, there is some kind of discharge thing which automatically causes discharge actually. So my question is that why the circuit breaker get discharged?
I could not get you. Actually, you are talking about AC circuit breakers or DC circuit breakers?
Yeah.
No, is it AC circuit breaker or DC circuit breaker?
So this is circuit breaker, sir.
DC circuit breaker, this is a problem. This is a problem. In fact, we are working on this, and we are working on some intertripping devices also. In this presently, this corridor, Kobi Subhas to this Viman Airport. See, the problem is what you are saying, that discharge automatically. I'm not very sure that this automatic discharging what you are saying, but what we are trying to do is there are a lot of suicidal cases in metro. It is unfortunate I'm saying like this, but the problem is even in case it happens, then the problem is the DC breaker or DC circuit doesn't get tripped. Even a person is falling on the track. As we know, in Calcutta, it's a third rail system. Third rail means the third rail is having DC 750 volt. So the problem is after the incident happens, then the the maintainer or operator or service technician or whoever is the station manager, when he goes to the track, then there is a possibility that he is also electrocuted. So we are trying to find out this, what do you call this, as an intertripping device. But what you're saying, this circuit breaker gets discharged automatically, this I'm not very sure, because in DC breaker which you're using, after the third rail system is de-energized, then physically we discharge it at after the train operation is stopped. But automatic discharge, I'm not very sure about it. In fact, I have never seen that. I don't
Okay.
know whether at the same time this OVPD has operated or there is some problem in the rectifier circuit. No, I have never faced that. This, of course, we do it, but we do it manually. After the train services stop, then manually we discharge the circuit because DC discharging is must. And when in the next station, when it come to VFD, it is mandatory for an operator when is opening the VFD door, he ensures that DC voltage is completely discharged. This is very important. It can make a fatal to any person. So please be careful. In like AC, DC needs to get discharged. In fact, I'm not very sure. In my childhood, when I used to do the mega, not in childhood, sometimes still now I also need to do when there is a third rail charging and all. You need to discharge that mega. Because
Yes.
otherwise there is a possibility of getting electric shock. So
Yeah.
the AC gets discharged, DC doesn't get discharged automatically. But of course, I keep this in mind. I'll try to find out from my experts in this.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. So moving on, we have one question from Mr. Priyanshu Banerjee. He's asking, can you kindly say after transferring all circuits from main bus to auxiliary bus, if a fault occurs on the circuit load, will it cause a complete shutdown?
No, auxiliary bus means in the basically in this particular LT side there we don't use any auxiliary bus. If he is available, then he can ask the question directly.
Ask. Let me see if he is there. No, he's not there right now. So, and there is one more question from Pratik Dattaroy, sir. In layman's language, how can you explain the active power factor correction, how the system works, the active power factor correction system? Also, this is a question from Soumitra Banerjee, Mr. Soumitra Banerjee. He's asking about how the active power factor correction works in APFC.
Actually, this automatic power factor correction happens through a relay module. And these power factor correctors are basically, it's what do you say, capacitor banks. And these capacitor banks, as I was trying to show, it is in a delta connection. And this, like I tried to explain, when this power factor starts going down, in case I am getting presently and no feeder, no motor is operating, then it is say 0.98 or 0.99 or 0.95, whatever it is. Now, suppose I start a motor, then power factor goes down. Now, based on the setting of the power factor in automatic power factor correction panel, the first bank gets on through a relay. And when this power factor gets on, it is getting connected to the bus. That's what I said, that when the APFC panel is operational, that air circuit breaker has to be on and the system has to be operational. The same thing, capacitor works like when you operate a simple ceiling fan in our house. We provide a small capacitor. There are two types of capacitor. One is start capacitor, one is run capacitor. Now, when the capacitor is giving that its contribution to that circuit, it's straightway cutting the inductance of that particular circuit. The same thing happens here also. It is giving that particular capacitance to the bus itself.
Okay, I hope the query was cleared. So there are no more questions in the chat box.
Yes, Mr. Bose. Mr. Bose, I am Gautam Mukherjee.
Oh,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
thank you, sir, for joining us.
Yes, yes, I was there. It was an excellent presentation. I will like to ask from you
Yes.
regarding the cross-checking of energy consumption.
Mhm.
supposing in normal system the supply provider is arranging the metering in the HT breaker. Now, how do we cross check in HT and LT breaker, and what the difference you find as per your experience? My question is clear to you?
No, you are saying that if I'm getting, say, for example, 33 kV in the primary of a transformer,
Yeah.
and in the secondary of the transformer, it should be 415 volt.
No, I'm asking supply provider is providing you supply at 33 kV.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
They are arranging the metering arrangement is on their breaker.
Hmm.
Now, when I take the supply, use the supply,
Hmm.
I want to cross check it in my breaker, HT breaker, as well as in main LT panel. In the low voltage also, I want to check the kilowatt hour running, and parallelly, I want to check in our breaker. Maybe the accuracy level of the supply provider's energy meter and my energy meter may be different. So they take huge energy extra from us. How do I cross check it?
No, but sir,
Do you-
I have understood your question, but the basic
Yeah.
problem here, there are two different parameters you are talking about. For example,
Yeah,
when we are talking about HT system in 33 kV end, I mean primary end,
Uh,
your
yeah.
current is abnormally low. For example,
Yeah.
if I say it's a 5 MVA transformer, or say, for example, let us take 1
Yes.
MVA transformer. If I take 33 kV, then the ampere is speedily. It is say around 10, 15, 20, 30 ampere.
Yeah.
But when I come to here, this in my system, it is 4,000 ampere with the initial in the transformer primary being 20, 25 ampere, and secondary my system it is 4,000 ampere. Now, how we can compare these two?
See,
Now-
please understand what is
Now,
my
1 minute. Now I'm getting back to you. Now, in the primary side, whatever kilowatt it is providing. For example, in primary side, it is giving 1 MVA transformer means it is not getting converted to full 1 MVA, including the losses. Say, let us consider it is giving 800 kilowatt, right?
Yeah.
Now, with this 800 kilowatt, in my in the secondary system, in my panel, it also should give 800 kilowatt.
Yes.
So this way we can definitely match this.
Can I add something here?
Yeah, please.
In Maharashtra, there are 2 meters from the utility side, that is a service provider. There is a main meter and check meter.
Yeah,
To check
yes.
to compare the accuracy
Exactly.
or the any difference, and both 2 meters provided by the grid.
Mhm.
That is MSDCL in. We can check the energy balance in LT side, and that should be below 2% considering the transformer losses. So LT side energy should be matched with HT side except the transformer losses, and
Yeah.
that should be below 2%, I think.
This is what I explained now, that if in my side, I mean in the LT side, if it is in the HT side, if it is 800 kilowatt, the LT side also it should be little less than 800 kilowatt considering the losses. Then we can say both the things are matching. Number one. Number two, what you said just now, these practices we have started here also, and the check meter, but unfortunately the check meter is also in the HT side, in the metering side, where the incomer is connected, but the LT side check meter is not available.
Yeah.
So this we need to do a different study for that.
Yes. Then what I mean to say is, my question is, we can also make arrangement in our LT panel, no?
Yeah, exactly.
Metering arrangement. So
Of
what you
course.
have explained here, there was no metering arrangement in your panel. But if the consumer wants to cross-check his energy consumption with the supply provider's meter, he cannot do it. There should be some arrangement, right?
He can do it because we also have
Yes,
an energy meter. we also have an energy meter. But
Yes.
see, the problem is here. I would say that when we are doing an energy audit, or we can say energy
Uh,
consumption study,
uh,
there are two parameters here, rather three parameters here. One is voltage, one is current, another is power factor. Now,
yeah.
the voltage I'm sensing straight from the bus. I take it.
Hmm.
Ammeter I'm sensing through a CT. And
Hmm.
power factor for calculation purpose, argument purpose, let us take it is unity. So my
Hmm.
two things are dependent on voltage and current. Now,
Yeah.
whenever I take this current CT, that CT ratio at class is very important. If there is a difference, then the entire study goes for a toss.
Yes. Very
Essentially,
well.
that CT which is being used in the primary side of the transformer, that class and accuracy has to match with my CT. Otherwise,
Yes.
in case of 4000 by 5 ampere CT, what I'm using, if it gives 5
Yes.
ampere, there is a early saturation in the CT, then the
Yeah.
study is useless.
Class level is also equally important.
Exactly.
Class level is important. Now I come to a little weaker question. See, if it is in 11 kV,
Hmm.
you see that the supply provider is arranging his metering arrangement on his breaker. Now, parallelly, if we go for our meter check, cross checking in our breaker and LT, there comes a huge difference in most of the cases. You got my point? Am I
Yes,
clear to you?
yeah, I have got your point.
So most of the panel makers also, they don't want to put the meters on the LT panel side. They said, oh, there will be confusion. There is no requirement. The supply provider is giving the meter. You can see there, lot of questions are coming for that. So there is a gap. I just wanted to ask you, with your experience, do you agree to it?
There is a gap, but theoretically there should not be any gap.
There should not be theoretically.
Yeah.
That also I
But
know.
no, again, that is what I said just now, that the measuring procedure has to be,
Accurate.
accurate, and the equipments or components which are being used, that has to be fully
Yes.
certified. That is the
That should be the accuracy level for both the things for measuring instruments should be equal when the supply provider is giving.
exactly.
Thank you. After a long time, I'm meeting you on webinar. Good
Yes.
one. Thank you, dear.
Thanks. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gautam sir. So, sir, with this, we have come to the end of the question answer session.
Yeah.
Now, I request our program chair, Mr. Amitabh Datta, to kindly deliver the vote of thanks.
Yes, and was really excellent. Enjoyed your presentation. Pratik here.
Oh, thank you, Pratik.
Thank you, Shubham. Thank you. We are witness today a very good, wonderful session by both sir. Thank you, both sir, for your wonderful presentation, which is informative as well as proactive. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Today, formally, it is time to give the vote of thanks. And on behalf of ISTE Kolkata chapter, we are thankful to all the audience and all the senior members who were attended today, especially our mentor, Mr. Manoj Chakraborty sir. Thank you, sir, for giving your valuable time to us. Our senior members like Gautam Mukherjee sir, Pratik Datta sir, Sudip Da, and as well as Devajyoti De sir also present today, and they have attended. Hope you also enjoyed the session. Thanks all our audience for giving their time, and we are very much waiting for the next part for this particular session with the same speaker, Mr. S.N. Bose, on next Saturday, same time at 6:30 p.m. At the evening, 24th July. We are very much thankful to our president, Mr. Manish Tiwari, President-elect Ms. Nilanjana Mukherjee, and immediate past president, Mr. Somojit Banerjee, as well as Secretary, Mr. Shankar Bhattacharya, for selecting the programs and guiding us, the speaker and all those things. We are our special thanks to today's host, Mr. Shubham Boni, and backend Mr. Siddhartha Majumdar for excellent performance. Our special thanks to all the sponsors, ALP Aeroflex, Lloyd Insulations, Universal Sales, and Contromers Group of Companies. Thank you, and thank you very much for the today's evening. Thank you all.
Thank you, Amitabh. Thank you once more, both sir. With everyone's
Thank you.
permission, let us now end the meeting.
Thank you.